Yeah, we've been without power here now for 5 days, man. I've had a generator going. My wife is 40 weeks and 5 days pregnant, so could be give birth any day, planning a home birth. So it's just kind of a stressful time, but it's all right.
Oh wow, it's all
Yeah,
happening.
it's all happening. That's it.
Yeah, oh, I'm glad you made it happen, man. It's yeah, life's just so full on these days. When you've got yeah, babies coming, tech issues. I mean,
It's
life
all
to live.
happening, man.
Yeah, it's all good. What's
Exactly,
happening
bro.
with Yerasimos? Is he coming in or
Yeah,
is he?
yeah, he should be here any second for sure.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah, how you doing?
I'm doing well, mate. I really am. Things are going great down here in Australia. There's a few things happening which are really exciting, sort of, business wise and things like that. So, after a fairly tumultuous last 4 years, as everyone's kind of like, gone through, no one's escaped that to a large degree. So,
Yep,
I'm really happy. Yeah. What about
amazing,
yourself?
man. Whereabouts in Oz are you?
So I'm in Wollongong in New South Wales.
Oh,
So,
wow, dude. I
yeah.
lived in my last 3 years in Australia. I was in East Corrimal.
Bullshit. I'm around the corner. Yeah, yeah.
That's insane, bro.
I'm in Tarrawanna.
Oh, wow. I know
Yeah.
exactly where you are. That's nuts.
That's crazy. How
How
long
long have
you?
you been there for?
Well, I've lived in Wollongong all my life. So,
Wow.
yeah, I've been in this sort of northern suburbs for the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
There he is. Gerasimos.
Adrian, what's up, man? It's really good to connect with you. Thanks for having me slash us on.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. It's you're very welcome. I've been listening to you guys for quite a while. I just found
Oh,
out
cool.
Joel used to live around the corner from me,
Cool, cool.
here in Wollongong. So yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah,
Now he
yeah.
kind of lives around the corner from me, and
Yeah,
from
that's
California to
right.
Mexico.
What's
That's
going
it.
on with that? I didn't actually. When I listened to you, obviously, like Yerasimos, you've got your American accent, So I thought that you guys were kind of like doing the dual podcast with Joel here in Australia and you overseas, but you're both
We
overseas.
did.
Well,
We
we,
did.
we
We could get into
did
that. We could get into that in the podcast, but yeah, we
we
did.
did for two years, man. I was in Australia and he was in there. Then
Is that right?
yeah, early 2023, we took flight.
To 2021.
Nice.
Oh,
Early
you say, oh, you meant
2023.
when you left. I thought you meant the
Early
podcast. Gotcha.
2023, me and my family took flight.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Hey, bro, I reckon I've got about an hour left on this generator or an hour and 10 minutes before it runs out. So if you want to get into it, if we want to get into it,
We're
It's
let's
into
go.
it.
crazy,
Hey,
man. It's
we're
crazy what he's
doing it.
navigating right now.
Oh, has this started?
That's all right, man. That's how I rock and roll. I don't do any intros or anything anymore. I'm just like,
Oh,
fuck,
got
let's just
you.
talk.
Oh, great.
Oh,
Cool,
So
I
cool.
love it. I
Nice.
love it.
we're
Cool,
I'm
good.
like,
man.
okay, we'll get into this when we start recording, but
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah, that's right. No, no. I just kind of like I used to have an intro, and then I
Yeah.
thought, I don't know, I just do away with it. It seems very clinical, and then I've just kind of started doing, I don't know, just start talking and carrying on, just a little bit more relaxed. But I feel like part of me wants to maybe jazz it up in the new year and have a few things a little bit more, I don't know, proper, I suppose. But at this point, it's kind of working all right. So.
Yeah, man,
Great,
whatever works
man.
for you.
I
But
like it.
we're really casual. I mean, yeah, we do an intro afterwards, but we just
Yeah.
start.
Look, this is one of the things for me. Like podcasting was something that years and years ago when I owned a real estate business. So um, I started watching like Gary Vee and all those sorts of people, and I started creating videos and content for real estate, which
Hmm.
would I used to do like vlogging and all that kind of stuff, right? So back in 2011, 12, no one in the real estate industry was really doing videos or video marketing or anything like that. So that's how I started. And then as I got more into that, I sort of extended my, I don't know, business skills into teaching other business owners about online marketing and social media and things. And I started run events and then eventually got full time into coaching as I sold my real estate business. So I was like in this mode of positioning myself as like a expert in the marketplace, and I used to interview business people. So I would interview some coaches and some business guys, and I would do in-person interviews. So I would travel around and kind of like meet these guys where they were at. and put the interviews together. So I kind of like fast forward into 2019, I decided to open up an indoor skate park. It was an idea that I thought would go really, really well, and it's been burning in my mind for like 10 years. And I've got three boys. I used to skate when I was younger, so I was like sick and tired of going to outdoor parks and my head's frying in the sun. I'm fucking stinging for a coffee, and there's all these wrap bags around. And I thought if this was all indoors with a cafe and it was kind of controlled, I think it'd be great. So I built it in 2019, and then in 2020 we opened in January, and then the Ruby Princess was on the shores here, and then like we were closed by March, and so I just fucking died the death of 1,000 paper cuts, and then it was all over from there. So
fucked.
long story short is that I started to speak out against the jab and the lockdowns and all the shenanigans that was going on with that. But the more and more I kind of got into it, the worse it got for me in terms of like people were going, this guy's lost his mind, get out of town, you're a menace, and all the usual rhetoric that went around just, not speaking, not following the line sort of thing. So my logical brain was like, man, I'm fucking going insane with all this stuff that's going around. I feel like I'm in the twilight zone. So why don't I just interview people that are experts in this field? And that way I can just go, hey, listen, don't listen to me. Just listen to Peter McCullough, or just listen to Pierre Corey, or just listen to like whoever, right? And go like, let me just put other people's minds out there that are in alignment with me. And then I'll put all the ownership on their weight, like their word. And then at least I can sit back and go, listen, man, I'm just bringing to you some experts in the field, and we kind of align. So if you feel like that's, in tune with your gut, then jump on board. So anyway, that's how it starts.
I look forward to you telling everyone to just listen to Yerasimos and Joel.
That's right. That's it. Well, I mean, it's taken a while to get to the real upper echelon of experts in this field. So. Yeah. Anyway, how did you guys meet?
Well,
this is your turn. This is your
Joel,
turn.
you go.
No,
you go.
this is your turn, bro.
All right, it's my turn. Okay, so it all started when my wife and I were actually interviewed on the Unslaved podcast with Michael Tazarian and David Whitehead. We were invited on in March of 2020, and we went on for a second time in May of 2020 to talk about awakening somatic intelligence, the body as the shadow, trauma, etc. And then I believe it was early 2021, Joel was, working in the family business, driving, put on Unslaved, and there came an episode with some guy named Yerasimos and his wife, Sophie. And, he reached out to me on Instagram. And with Instagram, where if you don't follow someone, but they send you a message, it shows up in your request folder.
Yep.
So one day I log onto Instagram and I go, I got a request message. Who's this person? Joel Rafidi. What is he all about? And I go to his page, and he's involved with the Sydney Freedom community. He had done an amazing track on vaccines, a hip hop track. He was into divination. He was into personal development. And I was like, this guy's cool. And he sent a really lovely message saying the episodes that my wife and I did had an impact on him. And so we had an initial, I don't know, maybe for a couple of weeks, we were just messaging back and forth on Instagram. And then, we were trying to figure out how we can maybe just continue a conversation, or maybe jump on some Instagram lives and talk about our work. And then we're like, let's meet in person on Zoom. And so we got on Zoom and we just continued the conversation, getting to know one another. And we both were like, oh, I've been wanting to do a podcast for years. Joel's like, I've been wanting to do a podcast for years. And then we said, well, let's just get on Zoom again. So I think it was a week later. This was probably May of 2021. We got on Zoom and we pressed record, and we just started talking about what it means to walk an authentic path. And of course, we were sharing our own personal examples and our personal hero's journey and major rites of passage, which I think is also a reason why we love asking that to our guests as the first thing, especially first-time guests, because I want to hear people's stories on what they've gone through, what inspired them to become who they are. And, we did a part 2 of us just talking. We didn't have fancy microphones or webcams or anything. And then, for our third one, we both were like, maybe we should start interviewing people. And so we did. We brought on Jaguar Heart for an episode. And
Yeah.
then, here we are, we've recorded, I think 219 episodes.
Wow.
Right now we
That's
have about
cool.
215 released so far. And it's been an amazing journey, like literally a once in a lifetime connection. Joel, I consider a brother to me, someone I deeply value and I respect. And I feel like we have complementary skills that have allowed us to create what we've created. And I'm curious to see how things are going to unfold. But yes, we were doing this for 2 years online, just seeing each other in these little squares. And then when he moved to Mexico with his family, we met for the first time last year in April. My wife and I flew down to Mazatlan, which was their first stop there.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's
So Joel, if you want to fill in any blanks, feel free.
No, you did a great job, bro. You did a great job.
Yeah, that's awesome. See, I've only just discovered your podcast probably a year ago.
Oh, cool.
And and the thing is like we've there's so many synergies because when I listen to a lot of your earlier podcasts, I'm like, man, these are all people that I've either followed, listened to, or had on my podcast. Like we've got so many alignments in terms of guests and things like that. And I, yeah, so you guys are always sort of in my ear at some point in time,
Cool.
depending on who's coming through the airwaves and stuff like that. So props to you guys. I think it's great. I think there's such a thing to be spoken about, particularly in the last couple of years, is that this kind of elevation of consciousness or vibe or whatever you want to call it is kind of uniting a lot of people on a big scale. I had a conversation the other day with Brett Weinstein, and it was the same thing. It was like, it was great to meet you because, man, I've been listening to you in my car for like fucking 4 years. So it's kind of like you have an understanding and appreciation for like who you are and your just what your whole kind of ethos is, and we've never met. So it's an interesting part of human dynamics and human connection, which is via this online portal.
Definitely, man.
Yeah.
Since 2020, something shifted where connections are being forged on a deeper level based on values more than anything else. Like genuinely, I believe a bifurcation took place. There was a splitting in the year 2020, and those who chose authenticity kind of have experienced an acceleration. They've experienced a further moving down of that authentic path. They're experiencing more alignment between who they are as a unique individual and the kind of life that they're experiencing. And those that kind of, put the blindfolds on and took the other path, the inauthentic path, is like kind of been a more of a hellish road. And it's going to continue to be more hellish the more that they continue to like pile on the propaganda and, not, I guess, take the quote unquote red pill.
Hmm. Do you think that is, it probably is in some of the case, do you think that there's still some willful, ignorant people that kind of don't think anything went wrong? Like I certainly bump
I,
into them all the time,
oh,
Oh,
they're out
yeah.
yeah,
there.
definitely. I still see it on social media where people are,
Yeah.
acting as if what happened in 2020 is still going on and people still need to mask up and people still need to get their 10th, 11th, 12th boosters, and that they're doing things, to be kind and to show their virtue to others. And, it's pretty wild to think that people have been living completely different realities and they still are.
Mm,
But in my world, I mean, I don't really spend much time and energy with people that like aren't really aligned ideologically to a certain degree. And it's not about agreeing on everything, but at least just from foundational elements, especially with things surrounding 2020 and wanting to make choices on, medical decisions and what you want to do with your body. I mean, those are the people that are the closest to me are usually people that align in that regards.
mm. Do you find this whole sort of timeline thing is like, it's interesting to live out this particular version of time and reality with people like you and I and those people that we just spoke about. Like there's such a disconnect with values, belief systems. Like there's a complete disparity and a disconnect between where they are and where we are, but we're in the same reality. Does that make sense? Like we're living on
Yeah.
different timelines, and that's never been more obvious in my life than ever. So to navigate that, it's almost a they live kind of moment with the sunglasses and you know
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
people who are tuned out and people who are switched on.
Yeah, man, it's a genuine splitting of humanity, and you're right. It has been like more heightened and more highlighted than ever before in human history. And I think it was Laura Matsu or someone before he'd have two people standing in the same place and living in different realities. But it's so true, and like it's becoming more obvious also that like you know the importance of one's consciousness in terms of the reality that they're experiencing. Like genuinely, we are not all experiencing the same reality because we're not doing the same work on our individual consciousness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also want to add too that it's a little more nuanced too as well. So like, I think there are people out there that I may be aligned with in regards to maybe having more of a clear idea of what's happening in the world. But I may not want to spend a lot of time with those people. You talk about
Yeah.
these like groups like the truther group or the truther community or the conspiracy community. Like, and yet there are maybe people who don't align with me fully on the medical side, but I still enjoy their company. I enjoy their creativity. I enjoy, how they relate to their friends and their family, and we have a laugh. And so that's valuable to me as well. So it's a little bit more nuanced than like, hey, we made the same exact decision in 2020. Now we're BFFs forever.
Yeah.
It's I don't think it's just that.
Yeah, and I mean, values go beyond, geopolitical views, etc. Like, are you
Yeah.
grounded? Are you embodied? Do you care about your family? Are you interested in, general health, etc., etc.? So,
Yeah, are you into
Yeah.
personal growth and human psychology and a lot of the
yeah,
things that we talk about in our podcast? It's not just about the external world. It's like, are you deeply committed to becoming the best version of yourself and being creative and knowing what you value and knowing what you love to do and what your gifts are and giving them in the world?
Yeah.
yeah. Being open-minded from a conspiratorial perspective does not necessarily make you a healthy, whole, psychological individual. As I think we can see. Yeah,
Yeah, we're on the same page. That's what I meant in terms of values and belief systems, because and particularly when you can see someone who's congruent and embodied with how they are carrying themselves forward based on those same said values and belief systems. So I agree. I think, I'm done away with the let's talk about the weather sort of conversations and stuff like that. I definitely want to have deeper convos that are more stimulating and things like, but I agree with you, Yerasimos, that like, yeah, I've got good mates that are, been my best mates for years and years, and we don't see eye to eye on a bunch of things, but we can sort of shoot the breeze and we connect in other ways. But definitely carrying forward, like having someone who has those, are you into being the best version of yourself? I love what you said there. Like, do you want to grow as a human being? Do you want to leave this planet better than what you left it? Is what you found it? Do you want to talk about ideas and how to grow things in terms of spiritually, personally, financially, like business wise? There's still very exciting opportunities out there amidst all of this, chaos and disaster, which can easily sort of swallow you up. And to your point, Joel, I think there are some people who are so far down the rabbit hole. It's like, man, you can't touch or eat or do anything.
yeah.
Everyone's what's the
Controlled
new
op,
Hold up.
chill.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's it. No matter who you talk to, man, it's just like, no, it's controlled opposition. These are the new gatekeepers of information now. And everyone that was a truther 2 years ago is now a gatekeeper of information and a controlled opposition. So that to me is a bizarre
Yeah,
reality.
exactly, man. We actually created a kind of fun quiz called What is your truth seeker archetype, which is at hereforthetruth.com. And it kind of like highlights to people very clearly like where they're headed in their truth discovery process, because there's so many different archetypes that have been born from this process. Like some people like, freedom at all costs, anti-government, anti-state. Some people like everything's a conspiracy, everyone's a shill, everything's controlled opposition.
Yeah.
Some people it's all about the health side of things. So, this is why like self-knowledge is the foundation of all of it, man. It's not about knowing things purely exoterically. If you don't have a fundamental foundational knowledge of who you are on a deeper level, like you can end up just as lost as someone who's been masking and vaccinating since 2020.
Yeah, for sure. Can I ask you guys, how do you discern in your own lives between, like, there's this whole thing about the truth, right? And what is the truth And then there's a thing in self-help where they're kind of like, live your truth. And you go, okay, well, what is that version compared to reality of things? Am I seeing through rose-colored glasses, or am I actually blindsided by this particular person that I'm following or modeling from, or whatever? How do you guys kind of discern between the path that you're on is the correct path, or whether you're following things to the degree that perhaps in alignment with your goals and vision and dreams, and how much of that is skewed by outside influences, and how much do you curate yourself to lead yourselves in the direction of your goals? Deep
I
question,
think,
but
yeah, we could go in a lot of different directions and bounce off one another, but I think it's just that a continued experiment. You know what I mean? It's a continued experimental process where hopefully you're tuning into like what you truly value, what you truly want. And then, but then at the same time, you're aware of, oh man, like my mom and dad raised me to be this way, or culture wants to be this way. So in the beginning, there's this like kind of battle of like, wait, but like I'm supposed to do this, but something within me, something is yearning to go on this journey, or to leave this job, or to go move away. And you make choices, and then you're continually getting new information from your environment, and then you take in that new data, and you continue to um, fine tune the way you live, the way you make choices. I mean, at the end of the day, the proof is in the pudding. Like, do you look in the mirror and go, man, I like who I am, I like the life that I'm living, I like the relationships that I've built, I love the work that I'm doing and bringing into the world, or not? But that doesn't mean like if you're looking in the mirror and you're feeling stuck and stagnant and like in pain and turmoil, that like all is lost. That just might be the data you're getting right now to go, okay, this pain is a messenger. This turmoil is here to teach you something. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to keep the blinders on and just keep going, and build yourself a deeper hole and keep pushing things under the rug and staying in that stagnant place? Or are you going to allow that pain and that discomfort to motivate you to make different choices that hopefully will get you closer to where maybe a part of you, conscious or unconscious, wants you to be?
Yeah, I think the number one indicator is one's level of self-esteem. And self-esteem is the crux of what we do. It's what we're most inspired by. It's the core of our coaching as well. And Nathaniel Brandon said that self-esteem is the immune system of the consciousness, right? And on a more basic level, what self-esteem is, it's the reputation you've acquired with yourself. So I think the more that you've lived your life and gotten this feedback from reality, and you've been in integrity with yourself, you've developed a deeper and more friendly and more trustful relationship with oneself. And I think in that state of heightened self-esteem, you are much more less likely to be swayed by the opinions of others. And you have much deeper self-knowledge as to, is this my authentic desire? Is this my genuine path? Or how much is being influenced by the other? How much is being influenced by the lack I'm experiencing within myself, by fear, by scarcity? Are my actions and behaviors motivated by joy and love? And so I think that the more that one has lived their life and made choices that enhance their integrity, that are on purpose, that honor who they are on a deeper level, then that quote unquote immune system of the consciousness is stronger. And that individual's force field in moving through the world is more authentic.
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm also a student of human design, and it's something that I've integrated in my work for a long time. And I think these esoteric arts, these esoteric systems like astrology, they have the potential to shine a light on your uniqueness. That we each one of us is this spark of consciousness. And like, how do you own that? How do you stake your flag in the ground even more of like, this is who I am. I don't need to stay in this compare and contrast game. I can really put the gaze inwards and go like, what are my gifts? What are my challenges? Like, what does astrology say? What does human design say? What does numerology say? And not to give your power away to these systems, but to enter in this kind of co-creative conversation with this knowledge and go, well, let me experiment with this. Let me try this out. And can I continue to peel away the conditioning, like I mentioned earlier, from culture, family, society, mom, dad, your priest, whoever, to go, man, like this feels in alignment. And then I echo everything that Joel said. And there's like a solid presence and groundedness of like feeling like you're solid on 2 feet, where it's like, sure, people may disagree with you. People may want you to make a different decision, but you're
Yeah.
like, no, this is right for me. So again,
Yeah.
like
And
when we talk, real quickly, when we talk about your truth, I think this is what we're talking about. It has to do with like the uniqueness of who you are. Now, there's a whole nother conversation on reality and objective truth, and I don't think your personal feelings, on some situation, very often based on conditioning, supersede objective reality and facts. But that's another dialogue.
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah. I think even like the strength of your intuition is directly correlated to the things we're talking about and to your level of self-esteem as well. And you just get a deeper, more nuanced, finer, subtle sense of, when you're making decisions that are intuitively correct for you as a unique human being, because you've gone through this continual process of making tough decisions based in alignment with who you are, speaking your truth even when it's hard, being self-assertive even when the world tells you to be small and not to take up space and just to be overly altruistic, etc., etc., etc. So I think there really is certain key metrics that enhance what we're speaking about. I genuinely believe that.
Yeah, I agree. I think the one of the habits that I created myself is to have that kind of self check-in, and I just ask, if you call it God or Allah or Susan or your higher self or whatever it is, it's just like, well, let's have that self check-in and kind of see whether this is feeling like it's on par or not, getting
Yeah.
tuned with whereabouts those emotions lie, and just how comfortable you are in your skin in this particular environment. And I think you can really start with very basic things. And one of the things that it's going to sound silly, but I might get into a podcast or a book, for example, and I'll just say, like, am I actually enjoying this book, or am I forcing this moment? Is it something that is actually rubbing me the wrong way? Is it a struggle to get through? And with movies or whatever it is. And so normally I would like see things through to the end because I just didn't want to, I don't know, give up, or I'm just happy to kind of like ride it out and just see what happens. And now I'm
Yeah.
kind of, well, you know what? This is actually just not even appealing. So I'm happy to stop it right here because it's just not, I'm not vibing
Yeah.
with this thing. And maybe I might circle back, or, and I don't apply that to everything, but it
Mhm.
certainly keeps me in check along the way, so I can make sure that, am I actually feeling like this is something that is in tune with me, or am I going along to get along? Like, am I just going through the motions? Because I don't want to be that guy that goes through the motions, because I know how easy 20
Yeah.
years can go past just like that, and
Yeah.
you're fucking around.
Yeah, man. And that's the great work ultimately, right? Is ultimately to come to trust yourself as the captain of your soul, as the master of your destiny. And
Mm.
this isn't something that happens overnight. This is something that happens over the course of tens of thousands of decisions in our life that have shown, a willingness to trust ourselves, even despite the backlash that can come as a result of that. And
Mm.
like, why else are we here? Why else are we here if not to cultivate the deepest, most possible relationship with our deeper selves? And that's the way I see it.
Yeah, I agree. And like Yerasimos was saying, it's just like you're not giving away to a higher power or giving your power away to something else and being be led by that, but more
Yeah.
using it as sort of like, lights on the runway
Mhm.
to kind of steer you in the right direction. To that
Yeah.
end, though, how much of it, how much of life do you think is in your control, and how much of it do you think is pre-planned, preordained, curated for your own, avatar?
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I definitely think it's some co-creation thing going on because I think, too many experiences in my life where I'm like, whoa, how is this happening? Why is this happening? But I think the more,
I
and I don't know if I said this recently or in another podcast, I think the more you start making choices that are in alignment with this inner essence of you, you see the magic happening around you. You see the right people and the right circumstances and the right situations present themselves to you. So I think sometimes that's why it can feel kind of fateful.
I
Um,
think there is a spectrum of potential available to each of us. And us reaching that potential is dependent upon how much truth we're willing to build the capacity for within
Mhm.
ourselves. And I think the magic and the alignment and the synchronicity and all the rest of it, that increases in alignments with you building that capacity for truth within yourself and you being a willing observer of that within one's life. But
Hmm.
if you spent your life betraying yourself, shutting off your destiny, not acknowledging and honoring the deeper impulses within oneself, then the magic turns down, the light turns down, and we
Yeah.
see that.
You said it before too, like how many of your decisions are coming from a place of joy and excitement and curiosity as opposed to fear? How many people make decisions of like fear of disappointing people?
Yeah.
And something that I say often in our group coaching program and in life is like, you have to be willing to disappoint those people closest to you, especially your primary caregivers, when you decide to live a life differently than their projections and their expectations of you. And if you're not willing to disappoint individuals, you keep kicking that can down the road and who knows what's going to happen, in 30, 40, 50 years. And so like maybe save yourself an extreme amount of suffering by just, taking that leap of faith and making that decision.
Mm. Yeah, it takes courage and also humility because you can make wrong moves all the time. So I agree. Like we're all coaches here and trying to guide people in the best way we can through the experiences that we have and the knowledge that we accumulate. And one of the things that I often say is like it's okay to zig and zag and change and iterate and modify and pause and reflect and do all of those things. But in my mind, it's not okay to stand still. I think
that's
that
right.
as long as you're moving, movement creates energy and momentum, and with that energy and momentum, you can then kind of like steer the ship a lot easier when you're paddling along.
But and that's how you become a better navigator as well, And there's the zigging and the zagging and the going down the dark alleyways and meeting dragons and princesses and all the rest of it. Like that's what the authentic path actually looks like, right? The inauthentic path looks like a straight line. It looks like a highway. You know where you're going. Your education, your job, your mortgage, like the next 30, 40, 50-year block of your life has already, it's a straight line. You can see it. The authentic path, you've got like a flashlight on your head that can see like half a meter in front of you. You don't know what you're going to bump into, but you learn along the process, and the light of that consciousness becomes brighter, dependent on your willingness to walk the path and fail, and get hurt and make mistakes and feel all the shit. Like that's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
And like the more you zoom out, like can you really make a wrong choice? Maybe on certain degrees, if you make a choice, it freaking ends your life. But a lot of times the mistakes we make are leading us to a greater understanding of ourselves.
Yeah.
Now, many people have to face and learn some really, really, really hard lessons. Like someone who's made a decision that led them to 30 years in prison, it might be difficult for them to come to that realization. But I've read enough stories of people who have gone through that and they've come to deep, deep acceptance and realization about what they needed to learn and where they go from here. And so, it's like no two people can walk the same path. So you have to figure that out for yourself. And it's easy to get into a victim mindset. And it's like, hey, something I think we're all relating to and talking about now is this idea of personal responsibility. How responsible are you for your life and for the choices that you make and the decisions that you make? Do you put the focus back in yourself? It's very easy to point the finger at others and blame other people or blame politicians or blame your parents or blame the weather, blame astrology. Oh, well, it's because of this, I'm this. And you're like, okay, like,
I think this
back to power.
I think the sincere seeker comes to the realization that all there are lessons.
I agree with that, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said there because I think when you are in a position where you can then say, I am using the knowledge that I have in this moment to make a decision, right or wrong, and in each and every moment there's a new opportunity to make another decision. So I like the analogy in terms of our realities that are created. It's the analogy of a video game. It's like the screen that's being rendered at the moment in front of you is just to play out that particular screen. So when you're going through a doorway, it's not like everything inside that doorway is being created. It's only created once you go through the doorway. And so our realities are created, in my opinion, the same way, because it is to a large degree a choose your own adventure type of book, you know. So I think that you can curate and iterate change within moments and different timelines, and whatever you create in that moment is the vision or the reality that would be for you at that time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely does, man. And that speaks to, my favorite hermetic principle, like as above, so below, as as within, so without. And like I genuinely feel and have experienced that my external reality is on some level mimicking what's happening within me. And again, the more self-esteem I've cultivated, the more trust I've built within, like the more beautiful my reality has become, the more authentic my friendships have become, the more alignment I've witnessed in my life. Like, that's the secret of reality creation, in my opinion, really is just, coming to a deeper place of congruence within your own self.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
And coming to a place of accepting yourself where you're at,
Yeah,
because some
of
of us have had
course.
different childhoods, some of us have had more trauma, and it's like,
Yeah.
man, fuck, like these are the state of my relationships, this is the state of my life. What the fuck do I need to do
Yeah.
to like not be in this place?
There
And
is
a
there
lot
is
of
no
people don't.
truth without self-acceptance.
Yeah, a lot of people don't, again, they want to turn the gaze externally all the time instead of being
Yeah.
like, shit, what role am I playing in this? Oh wow, I keep attracting the same men or the same women in my life. Like maybe at some point you got to go like, what the fuck is the common denominator?
Hmm.
And then go, I can control what I can control. It's easy to blame all your partners, but it's like, man, like this keeps happening to me. Maybe I need to take a look at my relationship with like my mom, my relationship with my dad, like the things that may be happening to me. What's the state of my nervous system? I get so triggered and reactive all the time. Maybe there's some work out there, maybe there's a book out there, maybe there's an exercise, maybe there's a teacher. And again, not because you're giving your power away to this, but you go, hey, I have the humility to go, I don't know everything.
Yeah.
I can't figure out everything. There's lights on the runway, that are guiding me on the path. And you go and you pick up a book, you meet a teacher, you do a workshop. Oh, wow, this is the next step in my journey. You don't want to get sucked into codependent relationships where you're giving your power away to certain people. We see that very often in different spiritual communities. You go,
Mm.
wow, I get some nuggets of wisdom that guide me along my path, but ultimately I'm the author of my life.
Yeah, I like it. When you think to giving your power away, I think we're all in agreement that someone has found, people have found someone in the absence of their own self-guidance and self-leadership, someone to provide that role for them. And whether that be a return back to Jesus Christ, or whether it be a particular political leader or an ideology in terms of the truth movement, or whatever that may be.
Yeah.
I guess my question is like, I agree with everything. Like, we're the author of our own story. I think that we are the ones that are curating our own reality at every moment. Although this sort of depiction of a utopian world, or however you want to call it, where we're all sort of all love and light, and we're doing away with the evils of the world, I'm not sure about how that reality looks, given that there is some level of governance. There's some people that are in power. There are people that are controlling certain systems that we need, and there's more that we don't. But there's obviously things that we need done to in order to live in this world. I'm not sure if I'm making sense of where I'm going, but where do you guys see the future of, now that we've got this sort of divide between these almost two camps of people that are etching towards true liberation and freedom, and then those that just want to be guided and led and kept in a box, and everything's kind of peachy keen on that side? Where do you see the future?
Um, I don't know. We're continuing to create it. I mean, I'm not someone who lives completely off the grid. I'm relied on the government, for water, for electricity, but I'm doing what I can to create within that system the life that I want. I don't know how things are going to unfold in the next 4 years. I live in the US. We just had a major election. Some people put a lot of credence into it. Some people don't. Some people think Trump is the savior. Some people think he's the most evil person on the planet. I tend to take a more let's wait and see approach. I'm curious to see how things are going to unfold. Um, But yeah, I don't know. I personally don't think we're going to live in some land of kumbaya where everyone's holding hands and like, hugging each other. I mean, that's just not reality. It hasn't been reality. Look around the world. I mean, you have people blowing each other up and hating each other based on ideology, based on programming, based on conditioning. I can't control everything that's out there, and I don't. And I'm gonna say something that some people might not agree with, but a part of me doesn't give a fuck. Like, I can't worry about every single thing happening all over the world. Like, I'm focusing on me, the people I care most about, my community, my business partner, what we're building and what we're creating. And so yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see how it's all going to unfold. I don't have all the answers. There's still uncertainty. There's still mystery on what's going to happen. Even in my own life, I don't have an idea, like a perfect idea where I'm going to be in 5 years and 10 years. So I don't
Yeah.
know if I answered your question at all, but I went on a bit of a tangent. But
Mm.
I don't know. And other people, they can decide for themselves if they keep going on this path where they're going, government, save me. I trust you. Anthony Fauci, you're the greatest. Like, I need to take 15 booster shots. Like, okay, your life's going to go wherever it's going to go if you keep relying on these people or these so-called experts in the old system, because it's crumbling to some degree. It is crumbling. So the proof will be in the pudding at some point. And maybe some of these people might have this moment, this wake up moment of like, maybe the things that I thought were true were no longer true. Let me dive in and maybe get a little closer to it. I don't sit here and say I have the truth about everything, but I'm here for it. That's why we named our podcast that. I'm here for the truth. I'm willing to explore things. I'm willing to question my belief systems. I'm willing to challenge, why I think the things I think, why I choose the things I choose. And I think, again, a person has to get to that place instead of just going, here, you figure out everything for me, government, mom, dad, wife, husband, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's two pronged. I think we're on our individual journeys, and I also think like on another level, in light of the evolution of the consciousness of humanity, we see things shift on a bigger scale as well, you know. And I think even like on a political level, you know, or whatever it might be, like humanity gets what humanity is kind of ready to get, so to speak. And I think genuinely that's moving in a positive trajectory and a positive direction. And I don't think there should be any expectation of perfectionism by any means whatsoever, you know. But I think it's really important that we see and we able to take the wins that do come our way as well. You know, like for example, you know, you have RFK on the world stage now, you know, who's pretty much been like an outspoken, you know, questioner of vaccines for the longest possible time, like a leading, you know, the most powerful health agency in the world at the moment. I mean, some people in the truth community can look at that and be like, "Oh, chill, he's married into Hollywood. It's all part of it." But it's like, how can you not see the light that comes with that as well, without expecting the perfection, you know? So people need to be really careful of like, you know, they can project and demonize, you know, all these pitfalls and all this evil in the same way that they can just project like savior worship onto these individuals as well. But I think we need to be rational about it and realize that it's not perfect. It's a step in the right direction. And what's the correlation between where the consciousness of humanity is at from an evolutionary perspective and what we're seeing on a bigger level?
Yeah. Well, even bringing it back to the health thing in RFK Jr., like I agree with Joel. Like, as someone who got into the truth world or alternative research through health, through investigating certain things around the pharmaceutical industry, or even questioning HIV, AIDS, that paradigm in 2005, that got me thinking about a lot of things. But like, in let's say the greater truth community, or even in the more fringe community of people that challenge the foundational elements of virology. So people that are there will go, well, RFK isn't talking about that. And so, fuck him and everything else
Sure.
Yeah.
that he stands for. And you're like, listen, like, I get it. We have our like pet ideologies or our pet beliefs that are like so important to us, and like everyone needs to know. And why isn't this person talking about it that has access to millions upon billions of people? They're hiding something. And you go, listen, like what Joel said, like, people are ready to hear and listen what they're ready to hear. Like, I don't think if a person came out and on the mainstream news said XYZ, that a very small contingent of the human population has investigated and understood deeply, that the masses would be like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like, they might be the one, like, ones revolting, causing, undue harm. So we can't put too much faith in the masses either. So, like very often the person that's coming out, that's sharing truth, is the one that gets vilified the most. We've seen that.
Yeah, the most scrutinized.
So to think that wouldn't happen if you have some government individual coming out and sharing something truthful or declassifying something and then saying this is what happened, there are still people, hundreds of millions of people, that wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I often joke about things like that. There's certain people that you could talk to, whatever is happening right now. Like here in Australia, obviously we've got this new legislation around having a digital ID to get onto social media if you're under 16. And to me, it's an alarm bell. But I can speak to the person right next to me, and they're like, is there a legislation for people to get like they don't even know, like is that what's going on at the moment? They just got no clue, man. They're going to work and feeding the kids and coming home and watching footy, and that's their day. They're oblivious to everything that's going on.
Yeah, and I get it. I have compassion. At some point, like, you have to like make the time to search and seek out information. But for most people, they're just like, they're just trying to hang in there. They're just trying to maintain. They're trying to pay their bills, and again, like, our system is set up to distract people as well. And so do you have the psycho-emotional fortitude to not get sucked in to the myriad of ways that we're trying to be distracted, through social media, through media, through, everywhere you look, it's like, don't go inwards, come here, enjoy this sparkly, shiny thing, get a hit of dopamine here and here and here and here. So it takes true heroism as an individual to like survive and thrive in this society. Even myself, I'm addicted to my cell phone. Like, I'm on my phone way more than I would like to. It's like, oh, it's here. Okay, let me check this. Let me check that.
Yeah.
Let me research this. And in some ways it's a benefit. I don't think I'm just mindlessly scrolling all day. I'm using it to research, to look things up. But I noticed that this thing that I touch more than anything else is a part of me and is becoming a part of me. And my wife in her dissertation for her PhD, she learned about this, the interrelational dynamics of touch, and how the things that we touch, our brain maps it as being a part of us. And so I think our phones are what we touch more than anyone, more than anything, maybe even our loved ones, and it's like, if we're missing our phone, it feels like a piece of us has been cut off. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. So, it's, we're all on a journey, and I am as well, of like, man, how do I navigate living in this modern technological world, and staying true to myself and connected to myself and present.
Yeah, and then this era has its unique challenges, which obviously we've chosen to face and grapple with. Otherwise, I don't think we'd be here.
Yeah, I think it speaks to a lot about the whole sort of going alone and going solo and going within, and all of that sort of movement to understanding self. Detachment from things is a necessary component of creating the distance between reality, what is, and what you are as a soul, as an existence in a human form. Because, like you said, Yerasimos, you can have this thing and it's in your hand all the time, and then your body's computing that it's a part of you, when in reality that's not the case. You know what I mean? So I think having that moment to sort of step back and have that 30,000-foot view of what life and perspective is an important one. I think the tone that everyone that both of you are saying is like, society in its existence has always had a group of people that are building roads and infrastructure and employed to lead or govern in a certain direction. And at moments they've taken that role and abused it. And there's other moments where they haven't been. And I think the discernment comes from us to kind of go, I'm integrating into this society that we're co-creating together. And it becomes a problem when I don't speak up when I need to, and I don't create boundaries when I need to. It's almost like a relationship, right? Like I need to express to you how I feel, or how you make me feel in a given moment. And then if we can have a relationship that is interconnected, and you're appreciating my perspective and I'm appreciating yours, which sounds pretty romantic from a governance perspective, but I think if we kind of speak up, and this last couple of years has taught me that speaking out and creating a degree of uncomfortableness amongst yourself and others can yield really tremendous results, because you are pushing yourself into unfamiliar territory, which elevates your level of consciousness, your ability to negotiate, to understand yourself, to manage your emotions. Like, there are so many sort of add-ons that come with the fact that you've just put your head on the chopping block, and now you've got to navigate, new waters.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, I like your voice is a center of creation. Like I call it kind of like the machete through the jungle of life.
Mhm.
With everything that you speak, you're kind of like signaling to the world your values, your intentions, and in doing so, you're raising awareness to others that share your values and share your intentions. And it has a multi-pronged effect of also repelling the predators and repelling the people that don't share those, etc. So like when you don't speak and when you don't assert yourself appropriately, it's almost like you're just laying there stagnant, giving up, and being like, "Hey, world, have me, give me your ideas, give me your
Yeah.
dust, give me your cobwebs." But when you actively speak and use that intentionally, you kind of shine the light of your own consciousness and you clear a path for an authentic life, in my view.
Agreed. How much time we got left on the generator, Joel?
Well,
As long as it's
we'll
going,
know
bro.
when he goes to black. I think.
I can
Yeah.
still hear it going, bro.
That's the way. I'm curious to know what's on the horizon for you guys. I mean, I love what you're creating. Again, like, we've got so many synergies, which is why I wanted to connect. And a few people have said you should speak to these two and have a little conversation. So um, I can see, like, you both got unique talents in different areas, but you're also kind of using this knowledge and experience to help others, which is amazing. What's on the horizon for like business life? Obviously, you got, yeah, a baby on the way. How many kids you got, Joel?
This will be my third.
Oh, nice. Oh, it's third. Is that
Yeah,
right? I think you said
this
first.
is
Yeah.
no number three. I got two daughters,
Nice.
6 and 4 at the moment. This one's a surprise. We've got no idea what's happening.
Good.
But yeah, man, like you know, what's a key way for me to navigate is like what is reality sending that needs to be done. Like sometimes we overcomplexify these things, but like what is reality signaling to me the areas that I need to level up, step up, where I need to pour my energy into, etc. And that's kind of like a signpost and a guidepost for me in my life. And like in terms of what we're doing, like we're in this process of navigating this ship still. We're setting sail, we're experimenting, we're having conversations, we have our group coaching program, etc. And like as we do these things, like this is a real world experiment. I'm getting feedback from environment. Does this feel right? Does this feel on our path? Is this fruitful? And then making decisions, accordingly. And I think ultimately our goal, man, is to like really inspire people to show them that truth is the highest path. There's no path higher up the mountain than being willing to enhance and expand your capacity for truth and build your emotional intelligence and understand yourself on a deeper level. Like from the get-go, we were never all about just like throwing like all the conspiracies at individuals and piling on all the number of things to be scared of and to be afraid of and to be awake of, etc., etc.
Hmm.
Like it's always been about you know it's not about life isn't about becoming somebody. It's about becoming who you intended to be when you decided to live this life. And I think that's the thing that really connects us most. And that's the biggest driver for us in this work is like, you know, to me, the saddest thing in the world is all the dreams that have fallen by the wayside by people not being who they are. And we would just want to inspire as many people as possible to, embrace the truth, but particularly the truth within, the truth that you are born with unique reason for being, unique gifts. And how do you spend your life cultivating that? And that starts with valuing the fact that you live and valuing the fact that you have unique potential.
Love it.
Well said, man. I don't really have much to add to that. I'm excited for life to continue. I mean, Joel and I are both generators from a human design standpoint, and we have an emotional authority, and so we use that to guide us. Like we really focus
Yeah.
on what excites us, what lights us up. What are the things we want to be doing, not what we think we should be doing or what people are saying we should be doing. And that's something that really helped me in my journey. When I first came across this knowledge, I was like, I don't need anyone to tell me how to go about my life. I'm going to trust that inner compass to guide me. And am I turned on by life? Am I excited? Am I enthusiastic? Am I following my bliss?
Yeah.
And then see where that takes you. And so I think that's what we're trying to do together, as business partners. And from a podcast standpoint, like again, same thing. We have the conversations that we want to have.
Yeah.
And maybe people will be telling us, you got to have this person on. We're like, well, we don't want to have that person on. And then maybe we realize, a year later, okay, cool, we'll have that person on. You know what I mean? Like we trust ourselves as best as we can up until this point in our lives with the wisdom that we have, knowing that we're going to continue to grow, continue to evolve, and hopefully continue to surprise ourselves. I don't want to stay stuck. I don't want to stay stagnant. I love when I come across new information that challenges something that at a point in time I went, that felt the most true. And then I go, you know what? Actually, no, this makes more sense. This is more rational. Feels like it's more grounded in reality and my personal experience of the world. So, that's what I love about life. I love keeping the curiosity. I don't know if it's my Gemini nature, but I'm so curious. It's like, man, what else is out there? Like, can you look out in the world and be amazed and in awe of all of it, of the mystery? And I'll say this all the time, but I'll say it again because it's a new audience. Like, the fact that we live, the fact that we exist, like, what is this? It's still a freaking mystery. And like, I don't want to lose sight of that. I don't want to get stuck in, I have the answers. I'm certain I know everything. I want to still have this coloring of man, like, what is this? Keep things light too, and just enjoy the ride and enjoy the game. Because in a lot of senses, it's the game of life.
Yeah, for sure, man. Like, I genuinely feel as though like being human is the greatest gift in the universe, And I look around, I look to my past as well, and like it's almost like traumatic and sad to see all the different shackles and handcuffs that have been placed on our psyches and our minds for us to live in as walking contradictions, to us to live in an antagonistic relationship to ourselves, to believe that we're not worthy of life, to believe that we're not deserving of pursuing our passions or our dreams, or even to believe that our life is random. Like that to me is just so devoid of the truth of this reality. And yeah, I just want to inspire people to really embrace and awaken to the gift of the fact that you live. You have life force. There is animated life force flowing through your bones right now. You have unique passions which are there for a specific reason. And when you really understand the value of that, it's like, how could you spend a second doing anything other than pursuing the best of oneself?
Yeah.
And,
like, again, think of the miracle of life.
Yeah.
Think of that. Think of everything that it took for us to be here. I don't need to go on my tangent of like, ancestral mathematics that I've shared before when you go back 10 generations. But when you do, you think about everyone that came before and everything they had to deal with. I'm just thinking about my mom and my dad, old school, Greek immigrants. My dad came to the US with nothing. And grind, his life was a grind, but he had an idea and a mission and principle, and he went after it and built a life and built a foundation for my family. Like, just him alone, the trials and tribulations, and then somehow meeting my mom, and here I am, 44 years later. Like, I don't know, it's cool, and to see what's going to come after this as well. Like,
there's a lot to be said about having a constant sense of curiosity and intrigue and wanting to figure things out. I think that childlike type of approach to life is a beautiful essence to capture and keep alive, because often we can get so clouded by the dark times and the things that are happening in our life which are dampening our spirit, and sometimes to the degree it can get to a point where you feel like, I don't know how I can bring this back to life. It's a real dark history, a dark moment, a dark period, or whatever it may be. And I think all of those lessons, as we said before, these are all life lessons, and all the just another opportunity to find intrigue and inspiration and curiosity as to how I can figure out, manipulate, create something out of this particular opportunity. But I love what both of you said, and I think to add to that, we live in a moment in time where you know, like after this podcast, man, I'm going to work, right? And I'm going to work in a business that I made up essentially 18 months ago. And it's like I can live two different lives in the same timeline, and I've got this opportunity to do that, and then go there, and then go to do my coaching, you know, on another day, sort of thing. So I've kind of got opportunities to be like a few things. You know, I don't have to
Yep.
define myself to Adrian's a baller maker, or Adrian's a real estate agent, or Adrian's a whatever. Like this is the definition of who I am, defined by what I do as a way of earning a living. I can kind of have little branches of, you know, my own inspiration everywhere, and that's a part of me. That whole, you know, tentacle of things completes like
Yeah.
this version of myself. Does it make sense?
Yeah,
Oh, it
man.
definitely does.
Absolutely.
I mean, and again, we live in a society very often that's like, no, you got to do this one thing and that's it. And you're like,
Yeah.
nah, man, I have multiple interests, multiple desires, multiple branches I want to explore, avenues I want to go down, and then you create the life. You create the life that you want for yourself, and it doesn't need to look like anything else. And for some people, they might be like, hey, I just want to do this one thing or start a business or, own a building and do something from that building, and then I'm happy and content. So again, it's like your path is your own path. Like stop fucking comparing yourself to others and just really focus on yourself, what you dream about, what you truly feel. And again, truly feel, that's another thing. Like a lot of people don't even know what they feel. They're not connected to
Mhm.
themselves. They're highly repressed. I mean, and for a lot of reasons, it could be based on the childhood trauma that they experience. So maybe you have to, the first step is getting to a place where you could build that sensitivity to really knowing what you're feeling and what's coming up so you can experience it and allow that to act as the motivator for the next thing that you move towards. So, and I mean, you have to fall in love with life and you have to fall in love with yourself.
Yep.
And that's something that I've done my best at. Not to say that I haven't had dark nights of the soul where I've been like, fuck all this. Like, I don't want to deal with any of this. But, you know, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And then after going through these dark nights and after experiencing them as fully as you can and feeling them, and you grow from it, you expand from it. And then and then you climb up one rung on the ladder.
Mm. I listened to a reel once, and it was, if I can, I'll probably butcher it, but it's a depiction of this person going to the other side and explaining to them what life as a human's like. And they're sort of saying, "Oh man, like you feel really happy and joy and elated, and but then you're also like sad and you're depressed and you're angry, and then you sort of have these moments where they're blissful and you know they're exciting and you've got new life, but then also there's this, and it's sort of just creating a depiction of the light and the dark of just living." And to the end of it, she was like, wouldn't that be what you would desire to live as a human? Is all of it. It's not just the love and the light and the kumbaya. It's the dark as well. Like the
Yeah.
contrast between the light and the dark is what we need to appreciate both sides. And you would want all of it if you were to relive again, as hard as some people might find to accept. You would want all of the tumultuous emotions and the ups
Mm-hmm.
and the downs and the highs and the lows. Like you'd
Yeah,
like it
man.
all back.
The old paradigm, primarily perpetuated by the Judeo-Christian kind of religion, is that the goal of life is perfection. But perfection is actually an impossible standard that I think leads people to kind of not explore their shadow, not explore the darker side, not get in touch with their primordial anger, not get in touch with the feelings that we've all been conditioned to turn away from. But I think the real paradigm is to seek wholeness in one's life. And that requires you to venture into those darker places as well, and to be open and willing to embrace and accept every single aspect of yourself. Because, part of building self esteem is, like I mentioned, building a friendly relationship with all aspects of yourself, being able to embrace all of it.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, would we really appreciate the sun if there wasn't darkness, if there wasn't rain, if there weren't thunderstorms? Just bringing it back to nature? I don't think so. We'd be like,
Yeah.
hey, 24/7 sunshine all the time.
The reason anything in this life has a value is because of the fact that we have scarcity. And the primordial scarce resource is human life. And so you would not value anything if you did not know that your life was going to end. If you were a robot, Ayn Rand made this analogy that was going to live forever, you would have no values. Everything would have the same and equal meaning because it wouldn't have scarcity. you know. So I think
Yeah.
it's really important to consider.
Yeah,
Agreed.
and I think that's why when I came across it in a book a long time ago, the phrase "memento mori," remember you will die. Like I
Yeah.
do my best to utilize that as a spiritual practice. You know, like just a reminder that I'm going to die one day, that this life as I know it is going to end. And so how does that inspire me to live? You know, how do I, conduct my relationships? And again, I forget, and then I have to remember again, and I forget, and I remember again. But I
Yeah.
feel it's been a guiding force to just go, listen, like if not now, when? When I think about the decisions I've made in my life,
Mhm.
the people I've disappointed, which I think for good reason, because I thought it brought me closer to, the life that I desired. It's like, if not now, when am I going to do it? Let me take action now. Let me leave this. Let me go do something hard. And I think the willingness to do hard things is important, and it's something that I could keep reminding myself of, because it's easy to get caught up in complacency and comfort and stagnation. If, you know, some of us in our lives, we've made decisions that have brought a little bit more comfort and complacency because maybe we've done well for ourselves or whatever. And so it's like, it's this constant, like, okay, let me keep things moving. What can I do next that's going to challenge me? So,
Yeah.
Yeah,
anyways,
done well. All right, boys. It's been an amazing chat. I'm really glad to connect. I've been, like I said, having you in my ear and my car stereo for a little while now. So it's really good to virtually meet you, and maybe one day, we'll have to get together. I'll have to jump overseas and hang out for a little bit. It'll be good to catch up.
for sure, man.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm really great to connect.
definitely,
Absolutely.
man. Like some of these conscious events that are propping up now, Confluence and Music and Sky and others, they're just an awesome melting pot for like all these different podcasters and conversations that we have virtually, to get the chance to meet in
Mm,
person. I got the chance to go to Music and Sky earlier this year, which was just incredible. Like, it's a different thing when it's felt. It's a different thing when you're there, in that person's presence.
yeah,
So
for sure.
I highly recommend it, man. We're so isolated in Australia.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, we're far away, but
Yeah.
a plane ride away, so that's not too hard to connect.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, boys. Thank you so much for your time today, and I look forward to circling back sometime in the future. But all the best for your future until then. Okay.
Cool.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
just real
man.
quickly, I just want to mention for anyone, listening, you can find all our stuff at hereforthetruth.com. And also just I want to give a shout out, Joel at Music and Sky performed his recent music hip hop album, Scorpio Live. I love it. It's a great album. Check it out on Spotify or Apple Music, wherever you stream music.
Yeah. If you're into conscious hip hop, definitely check out Scorpio. I think I've, hopefully added something meaningful to that world. I'm a big hip hop fan myself, but, wasn't always a fan of some of the lyrics and stuff like that. So check it out. Let me know what you think.
Legend. All right,
Cool.
boys. Until next time. Until
Thanks,
Thanks,
again.
man.
bro. Really appreciate you having us on.
Anytime. Take care.